Um, all right. So, yeah, is there any other questions regarding the final book? Okay, so Erica and Robin, after the class, just stick around and then I'll just go over a couple other things with you in regards to the final.
And one more question. The 6 to 10 image should be for one topic or just so that what I want?
It should be one topic. Yeah, I mean, I think I expressed this last week. It should be one topic. It should be one concept. You know, you have basically until the 29th, even technically until the 5th, to get all your images done. And you can use, you can use any sort of, you can use any topic that you've already used in the past assignments too, or maybe a couple of your images go together already. You know, I kind of don't want to make it about like stacking on like a huge project at the end or anything like that. I'd rather have you know, if you only have 3 images that, you know, that you really like or something, I'd rather have 3 good, solid, cohesive images than, you know, 10 sort of trash images. So it's not about like, normally in this class, I try to like really like stack it on so everybody's like really hustling and bustling and working hard and learning a lot because they have to do things over and over again with the printer. But since we can't do that, I'd just rather quality over quantity. Okay, and I think you'll be happy with that in the long run too with the book. So again, 6 to 10 is very negotiable, but just try to make your images cohesive. That's all I ask. Okay. Robin, you're frozen again. The star card keeps popping up. The star card. What's a star card? Oh, you're talking to yourself now? Oh. What does a star card mean? I just see a bunch of people's lips moving, but I don't know. Okay. I'm gonna assume that it means that
Sorry.
I'm the best teacher in the world and we should move on.
No.
Okay. Yeah, I think that's what it means. All right, cool. Any other questions? Let's move on to, do you all want me to do the demo first or do you want to do the crit first? I saw crit. Okay, let's do crit. Okay, crit it is. Okay, so we did IVs, right? Last week. And Victor's not even here. So and Paula's not here either. Okay, we'll start with Tiha then. Can you all see my screen?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
Let me come over here. Tia, look at this photo of you. Wow. Dashing.
It was 12 years ago.
12 years ago. Wow. Okay. So, oh wait, can somebody tell me what the assignment was?
Black and white.
That's it? That's all I said?
With like conceptual or documentary or yeah.
I feel like I spent time writing it out. Let's just read it instead of throwing out a bunch of words. Okay. 1 second. Okay, black and white. The objective of this assignment is to create 3 cinematic photographs in black and white. You'll create a narrative within these photographs. You may shoot this as a documentary piece or as a conceptual piece. The use of black and white should enhance this narrative. You should be able to convey a story within your images. Things to consider are light, motion, angle, composition, burning, dodging, and contrast. Okay, let's start over.
Yeah.
Black and white create. Okay. Can you all see these images, or are they too small? Is that better? Okay, so is this a conceptual piece or is this a sort of documentary piece? And not you, Tiha, I'm asking other people.
Okay.
Mute yourself. In fact, I'm gonna mute you. Oh, you muted yourself. All right. Others, what are your thoughts? Is it documentary? What is it about?
It's a story.
Okay, it's a narrative, sure. What's the narrative?
He's going out to eat.
No one in restaurant, brother. Only in delivery.
Oh, it's a delivery.
Yeah.
I see. Anybody else?
I see it's like the freeway, it's not as packed. You go to a restaurant, it's not as packed. And yet again, like the kitchen, I'm sure there would be way more people in that kitchen too. So it's kind of like you see where, I could see where he's getting at, you know, like differences that we're experiencing with COVID, you know.
I see.
The hustle and bustle of the restaurants, they're still going at it, you know?
Yeah, there's a lot of energy in that last photo. Look at that angle too. He's up high. Anybody else want to throw something out? How is the black and white working with these images? Yeah, well, everybody is sort of indifferent. Do you think it's enhancing?
Yeah, enhancing.
Yeah.
I think it does. No, I think it does enhance it just because it's not what we typically see, and I feel like this is not what we typically experience.
Okay.
Yeah. That's what I would
Okay.
say.
Tia, I want to hear from you. What is this? What are these photos about?
Yes, actually, I think I shoot a lot of pictures, and I try to convey what works and what didn't, and yeah, I try a lot. I have I have so many pictures for the assignment, but yeah, at the and I like those 3. I think what I'm doing and what's happening is it's all related to those 3 pictures. So yeah, I select those 3.
What do you mean what you're doing? What are you doing?
I work at the restaurant, deliver food.
You deliver food. So this is about, okay, so this is about your life as a delivery driver.
Yeah.
Okay. I would say that you're missing some key photographs, some key what am I trying to say? Some more breadcrumbs as to what these photos are about.
Mm-hmm.
You know.
Yeah.
You say you really deliver.
There's nothing really saying that you deliver.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, because the first image, it feels like the way I read it was like you're on your way to an empty restaurant.
Yeah.
Right. So things like the actual food is missing.
Yes.
Right. Or something like that. Now, I don't mind the first two images as images that are sort of establishing, especially the interior of the restaurant, the sort of light that, you know, being able to see out those windows plus the empty restaurant. It's nice. It's cool. But there, you know, for me, it's all about that third image, that
Yeah.
energy in that third image, right? There's something about that really is striking.
Yeah.
So, you know, and not that you have to always, not that every, especially within a series, a narrative series like this, also, it's like not every image should be like this hero banger shot,
Yeah.
right? It can, like, one could be really, really like this, and you know, but this image sort of tells me a different sort of story. It is about the energy, the hustle and bustle within the kitchen space, right? And then you know, the interior, the empty interior of the restaurant is a whole nother thing and a whole nother read. And then the car, you know, the car, just looking at it like that, either is telling me we're going to or going away from,
Yeah.
right? So, you know, I don't know if if you need like another 2 or 3 images to complete this
Yeah.
narrative, but I definitely feel like the thing that's missing is the food. But I also want to say, like, this car image is like,
It doesn't work.
no, it's not that it doesn't work. I just don't think that it's very interesting.
Oh yeah.
The
I-
other two images are very interesting.
Yeah.
That even the restaurant image, I was like, meh. But now, like, sort of like living with it a little bit more and like looking out the windows and like sort of
Yeah.
really taking my time with it, that image really works for me.
Yeah.
And the energy of the restaurant works for me. Maybe it's about a juxtaposition of how much energy is in the back of the restaurant as opposed to the sparse emptiness in the front. I don't know. There's a lot there, but definitely that first image doesn't give me enough to sort of complete the circle of like your life as a delivery sort of person.
Yeah, I would agree. Doing something with food, maybe in your car, or even a sign that says Postmates or Grubhub or whoever you're working for, something to know that you're delivering food. Like he said, it looks like you're going to the restaurant or like leaving.
Yeah.
Or even like the freeway being empty. That would be something different that we're not used to here in LA. So I think I agree saying that the first one isn't as interesting, but adding an element to make it interesting, I think that would help out.
Where yeah, that's good. That's good. Yeah, I mean, I think you're there. I think you got it. I think just, you know, just remember that, you know, in telling a story, there's certain elements that you need to sort of complete that story.
Yes.
Okay. All right. Good job. Thank you, Tia.
Thank you.
And also you follow the directions. You posted them all on one canvas. Thank you for that. All right, Robin, you're up.
Hello.
Wait, you don't say anything unless you want to say something. Is this going off of the work from within your zine?
Yeah, kind of.
Okay, so these are sort of reimagined film stills.
Yeah.
Okay. What are your thoughts, everybody?
I really like the one on the right, the furthest right. I mean, the right.
Yeah. What do you like about it?
It's kind of it's a little whimsical, if anything. I feel that whimsy, like aura coming out of it, I guess.
Okay. Other thoughts? Are any of these images not working? Are they consistent?
I would
Styling
say
is consistent.
The styling?
Yeah,
What do you mean by that?
the style of the photography
Hmm,
is
okay.
consistent.
Yeah. Because styling could also mean like clothing. It could also mean
Yeah.
it could also mean like set design. But yeah. I think
Sorry, can I-
imagistically, yes, they're very they're
Eavesdropping.
that's all right. Howard
connection
Joel just said that
really
Joel just said that the images look very consistent
Oh,
stylistically.
thanks, Joel.
What is there's something that I feel like is repeating in these three images. What is that element?
Hands.
What?
Hands.
Hands, exactly. And what do you think the significance of that is?
I'm thinking, but I didn't know. I don't know.
You don't know? Okay. And remember, these are sort of reimagined film stills. That's what we know. That's what the artist is giving us so far.
Film as in movie, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
I mean, I think one thing that's interesting, Robin, is film stills are typically horizontal because films are horizontal. Now, that's not to say that these are wrong in any way, but the compositions of these feel very vertical, right? They're almost, they're cinematic in the light, but they're almost like, because they're like these, like the first two especially, they're sort of presenting to the camera. There's presentations to the camera that they almost don't read like film stills, which I don't think is wrong necessarily, because I don't think like you're trying, I don't see this as you attempting to like copy a film still. I think that like the whole point is that they're reconceptualized film stills, or you said from memory, right? Yeah, so I think that's great. I think but I do think that it's interesting now, but in saying that, because they are three images laid out on one, it's sort of a triptych, like it's laid out on one canvas, maybe the whole canvas itself is one single film. So I don't know. I think it's interesting either way. I mean, because I keep reading these as one piece, not necessarily as three individual pieces. Do you want to talk about them at all? Do you want to guide our sort of read on these? I think you're frozen again. You're frozen and you're giving me a death stare. I think your connection's messed up. Oh, there's a smile. Yeah.
It's garbage. I don't know what's happening today. I can't stay connected.
Oh man. I can't stay connected. All right. Well, I mean, did you have anything you wanted to tell us about it? Or were you telling us things and we just couldn't hear you?
Half.
Oh, you're frozen again. Maybe try turning off your camera. I know that sometimes
let me
turning
try.
off the camera will free up your audio.
Can you at the very least hear me?
Yes.
All right, cool. No, I don't think I really have anything to say. The film is City Lights, if anybody's ever seen it.
Mm-mm. Who directed that?
It's Charlie Chaplin. I had a unhealthy obsession with him from about 10 to 14.
Why was it unhealthy?
It was obsessive. I would watch like 18 hours straight of his films.
Wow. Was it sort of like done in a way to like avoid reality in some way or something?
No, I just think silent film has a way of getting to me. I think it's really incredible that it can be that expressive and deep meaning and can cross all those boundaries, language and otherwise. And it's
Yeah.
just such it's such an old way, and it still manages to connect everybody.
What is, Charlie, that one film where he's the photographer?
I don't know which film you're talking about, believe it or not.
Let me see.
I don't think I've seen every single one of his films, but a mass majority of them.
Let me see. Charlie Chaplin has is it okay? That's City Lights. I've seen the Circus. Is it Modern Times? Or it might, oh no, am I? Sorry, everybody. I might be messing up hard right now.
Factory.
Damn, I'm totally messing up. It was Buster Keaton. I guess it's not that big of a mess up, but yeah, there's the cameraman. Buster Keaton is a cameraman. It's really funny and interesting. Okay, sorry. Anyways,
Yeah, I don't mind Buster Keaton.
yeah.
Ah.
I think yeah, I think these are, you know, they're working. They're really beautiful. I would say I would have more to say about them, especially if and when we go to print. And are you planning on using these for a zine later or something, or for this class or anything?
Could be.
Okay.
Yeah, I really wanted to continue that.
I would just want to tell you that, you know, printing presses especially are not as accurate, obviously, as a monitor or a inkjet print. So you'd really have to watch those darker midtones to, you know, like this area in the thumb, like that thumb wants to disappear into black big time. It's beautiful the way it's existing right here, but, you know, just know that you might have to open that area up later when we actually go to print or whatever. You probably ran into that with your zine, right? A lot of you lost a lot of your midtones and your darks, your shadows, right?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Okay, cool. Well, great job. Thank you very much. All right, here we go. Irene is not here. Oh, hell yeah. All right. So is this the images from that why don't you tell us about these images first?
I met a guy that is involved with helping the homeless find housing. You know, they get vouchers for hotels and stuff, and, you know, they give them food, water, and like social security cards, all that stuff. He told me that these homeless people, they were getting kicked out of their spot, and it was in Glendora, and yeah, they got kicked out, and I documented.
Okay. Okay. So thoughts? what? Okay, I'm gonna have to start calling on you people if you don't say something.
I guess I forgot to say this. Those two people, the girl and the guy, they're part of the organization. So they were there to watch the police, you know, how they were handling all of the homeless people's items. And so I had gotten there pretty much like at 7:30, and I was the first one there. I like talked to a couple homeless people and like asked them if I could take pictures of them to document and all that stuff. I talked to the cops. They were really cool about it. Those two people were advocates, and they had gotten citations for trespassing. And a lot of the homeless people also got citations, and they weren't offered any vouchers for hotel rooms, which right now they're supposed to be doing.
Mm.
And so there was a lot of politics involved. And yeah, apparently like all their stuff is just put into like big containers and sent off. And if they don't pick it up in 60 days, they just throw it away. So there was at least 20 people that came out. And the cops had already told them, like, you guys can go in the hills, hide in there. We don't want to see you in the city. So they kicked them off, and now they're like roaming the city trying to find a spot to live, when that was like their last resort.
Okay.
Yeah, and so Mika and Lucy are their names, those two people, like there.
Mm.
They like always try to go to spots and have the cops handle everything cordially, because they do things that other organizations should be there to help instead of like kicking them out. Yeah, I guess that explains my little story.
Okay. I mean, it's good context to provide for your images. But I want to hear about you all now, from you all.
For me, it is not really telling that kind of a story.
When you say that kind of a story, what kind of story are you referring to?
What Erica just was sharing. I don't really see homeless people. I see police with people. And so I'm, you know, I can tell by the way you're talking that it's an emotional situation for you, or what you saw, or what you experienced. And I don't see that in the pictures.
Okay.
So I have a question for Joel. When you say that, is it because that man doesn't look like he's homeless? Or it's like not your typical homeless person with a tent and everything?
The one in the middle?
Yes.
See, for me to have to ask the one, which one, that tells you something too.
So it's interesting that you say that, because my church, a couple years ago, we helped out homeless here in Laverne. And that was the difficult thing. It was hard to find homeless people, because they don't look homeless. You can tell that they are because they have suitcases. But so I think it's because of the area. And I think that's a difficult thing. Homeless people in Glendora and Laverne and such places, they don't look like your typical homeless person. And I think that's what adds to the challenge, to know that this person is homeless. But now that you give it the context of that it's in Glendora, that's when my mind switched. And I said, oh, because I know the kind of homeless in Laverne and Glendora and those kind of places. And then that's when I started connecting the dots from there. But it's true, without that context, it looks like people are just trespassing and the cops are giving them a hard time.
I had another photo that I was going to add, but I think the minimum was like 3.
Yeah, I struggled with that too, that 3 image. Like,
yeah.
how do I say a story in 3? Yeah, exactly.
It's like, I think I'd need at least 2 to 3 more, and I did choose other ones, and they tied in the story much better than just having these 3, you know? So I totally get that point, though.
Did I say the minimum was 3?
I think so.
Because if I say a minimum of 3, that means there could be more.
Yeah, I couldn't organize them well. But
No,
anyway,
yeah, it says the objective of this assignment is to create 3 cinematic photographs in black and white. 3.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I think this is getting into this like territory, this conversation, which I think is really interesting. Is and you know, and this is our role as photographers that we have to really consider. You know, is a like we have to sort of make these like stereotypes in order to get our narrative across. But what I'm hearing is like people aren't all the same, right? Not all homeless people look like what our concept of what a homeless person looks like. But I think these photos are sort of challenging that. Well, like, you know, how would you know? And or something like that, you know? How do you know that the person next to you at the grocery store is a homeless person or not, or struggling? You know, so I think in that, and I don't know that was necessarily like the topic at hand for you, but it sort of generated this like sort of conversation about like, and you know, it's hard, right? I mean, it's like making generalizations about people is like really a touchy territory. I mean, we shouldn't, you know, but then at the same time, it's like, well, then how would you know what these photos are about? Now, I for one, and I think I don't mind artists providing context to their imagery. But some people, especially these like, you know, I always talk crap about the art department, but you know, a lot of those other guys in the department, because they're so commercialized, they feel like the message has to be visual, otherwise otherwise it's not a successful image. There's some truth to that if you're trying to sell something, right? And we don't, and I don't necessarily know like where these images are going to end up per se, but I would say, you know, keep that kind of stuff in mind. Like, do you want your viewer to know what these photos are about just by looking at them? Do you mind adding context? And if, you know, if you feel like you need to add context, sometimes, you know, there's no reason why you couldn't include text with these images. There's no rules, right? And especially if you're doing sort of this photo reportage or photo essay, yeah, absolutely, or a title or something, you know, like anything that just sort of gives us some like breadcrumbs into how to enter into the work is good. Okay.
Erica, when you were there, you said you got there first. Did you see stuff like their belongings?
yeah, so I was gonna go hike up, but the cops were already there. So I talked to a cop and he's like, yeah, you can't go through. We're kicking them out, you know? And so I was just like in front of that gate area, and then I walked up, you know how like I guess under the freeways, it's like concrete angled.
Yeah.
I walked up, and that's how I got the first one. But yeah, I had other pictures that were more about the homeless people, but also I just, you know, I kind of felt like a way, you know, even like showing the cop, I feel like I should put like something over his eyes, because, you know, that's people's personal life. That's their business. I don't want, like, if somebody knows him, they're gonna like get, you know, emotionally involved, and it could just turn south, you know? But definitely I understand the whole like storytelling aspect of it. I should add more to like define the story.
Yeah, I mean, for all we know, you know, the people they got robbed or something, you know, and they're talking to the police and, hey, my stuff's, you know, they took my car or whatever.
Yeah, I think that's I mean, you can't put everything that happens in a day in one photo, you know, so you'd have to have a conglomerate of photos to show what would what happened there, because also the SWAT team turned up right after I left. So it's just kind of excessive. But yeah, they had like 2 dump trucks full of their stuff.
Yeah, I think this is really interesting. And you know, it's definitely like a really like sort of hot topic right now, and especially like you add the virus in, you know, and now we have even more like layers of depth to these images. Yeah, I think I like sort of your I like that first image for like it's sort of establishing and pulled back. You know, the second image is nice 3/4, and then the third image, you know, obviously that like silhouetting is really beautiful. The third image, you know, the first and third image feel like they're about these people that you were talking about, not necessarily the homeless people, but the people that deal with the homeless people, which to me it's probably a separate story.
Yeah.
You know, so make sure, you know, it's good that you're doing your research and sort of like understanding what your photos are about, and you know, because like, yes, like it could be about this like event that happened, but also it could be about the 2 people that are advocating for the homeless people. It could be about, you know, the excessiveness of the police force. It could be about displacement of the homeless. It could be, you know, it could be about any one of these things. So make sure that, you know, with your edit, you're understanding that you're guiding us through whatever the concept is that you're thinking about.
Can I share the photo that I was gonna put with it, just to?
Of course.
I think it ties these 3 photos together.
Of course, yeah. Do I have to stop sharing my screen?
Yeah. Okay. Okay, so this is the photo that I had, and here is Lucy and the other guy, Nico, and he had gotten his ticket or whatever. And you know, when you can see the front of him, now you can kind of tell, obviously he's homeless, you know. And then they're recording, so I thought that was pretty like good framing in a sense.
Yeah, I think cinematically it is you know, it is a great image, and it's vertical, which I can appreciate. I just think, you know, going back to even like what Joel's saying is like, we don't necessarily, like I can't necessarily look at this image and be like, that dude's homeless. I mean, he's wearing a Vans t-shirt, you know, like that for whatever reason is not necessarily screaming homeless, but maybe, you know, again, maybe that's the point.
Yeah, because
that's the point.
If I were to take pictures of all these homeless people, which I did take, and they were kind of, some were getting mad at me, so I stopped. But they, in their community, it's really hard to, you know, keep clean, and most of them try really hard. So, like, you won't see them as, I guess, like LA, you see a lot more of it, like, it's like dirtier and stuff. These people, they look regular when they're walking down the street, you know, maybe a little bit, you know, with torn up clothes, but nothing too crazy. And,
yeah,
you know, you see it in every city too. Like, you won't know that guy that's taking the bus is homeless and he's just trying to get to the next city to find a meal or whatever.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I think, are you using a fixed lens?
I'm using a 50 millimeter. I think I used a 50.
Yeah. So like, it does feel like, you know, if we can get into sort of the technical for a second, it does feel like, you know, it does feel like one single lens throughout throughout this series. And you're using a crop sensor, or are these images cropped?
I cropped them, I believe, a little bit.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, I think, you know, I think they're working. I think you've got something here. I really like this story, and I really like, you know, like sort of, I think more than anything, this conversation about looking homeless or not looking homeless or whatever, like, I think it all comes back down to like this idea that like you're there's like a certain dignity that you're sort of like making sure that, you know, these people have in the images, and I can appreciate that, you know, like maybe it's not about like stereotypes of what a homeless person might look like, or Skid Row or things like that, you know, because there's plenty of that out there. So, you know, you're sort of aestheticizing it, especially with the black and white, and especially with the warmer tint. Did you use that method of making it sort of look like a lith print? Is that what
Yeah,
I'm seeing here?
I didn't do it on Photoshop. I was starting to, but I did it on Lightroom as the split tone.
Split tone, yeah. I mean, I think it's nice. I think it's cool. It's sort of, you know, it is adding some kind of like quality to it that is, again, it's like sort of making these images like pretty, right? But in saying that too, I would say, you know, the more you sort of move on, and it sounds like this is the kind of photography that you're pretty interested in, this like documentary photography and these narratives and photo essays and reportage and things like that. Keep in mind that like certain publications will never let you crop, and will never let you convert your photos to black and white.
Yeah.
You know, they will be absolutely like adamant that all you can do is a little bit of contrast and color correction, and that's it, right? So within those constraints, like, how do you make an interesting image, right? But for your own personal work and like sort of telling the story of this event, yeah, I think this really works out.
Thank you.
Great job. I really love the silhouetted photograph.
Me too. I think that was my favorite, and that's why I put it, because those two people were very adamant on, you know, human rights and all that stuff. So, I mean,
Yeah.
they were there to document too, and the Tribune came after.
Yeah, I mean, I think maybe at some point, if you can, you should make them a print and send, you know, like a little 8x10 and send it to them.
Yeah, that'd be cool, actually.
Yeah. All right, let's move on. Oh, Erica, can you? Oh yeah. Can you stop sharing your screen so I can share mine? All right, can you see my screen? All right, Amanda. I'm gonna save this. This way I can open it up in Photoshop, because I appreciate your hello. I appreciate your layout here. All right, can you all see it? All right. Okay, Amanda, do you want to give us any breadcrumbs, or do you want us to just interpret it?
Sure. So again, I struggled with the 3. I got hung up on that last night, and I was up late, and maybe I should do this picture, that picture. But so a friend of mine, he drives buses for the city of Santa Monica, the Big Blue Bus Company, and I wanted to incorporate this into my final project. And so I spent the day with him, and my concept is like the different modes of transportation for him and his responsibilities and what he takes on as a father, a husband, and a city bus driver in Santa Monica.
Okay.
That's a scary job today.
Yeah, I think that was the jumping off point. Okay, so Joel, you're saying that's a scary job today. Can you talk about that more? I mean, and reference these images possibly, if possible.
I feel for the bus drivers. I don't. That's one thing that, I mean, the nurses are having issues, but there's some protection. The bus drivers, they're not trained on protection. They don't. I mean, it's horrible. And the people that are taking the bus, some of them are not going to know how to protect themselves, and they're going to be sick. So I don't mean it. I don't know your answer, Hiroshi, about the photos, but just the job itself.
Yeah.
This bottom one is your friend in the mirror. I like how you did that.
Yeah, great. I think when I'm talking about the images like that, what I mean is like there, what's the difference between being a city bus driver 5 months ago and being a city bus driver right now, right? There's a whole underlying sort of layer of intensity to that job, right? It was probably already an intense job to begin with, realistically. So then you add this whole other thing of this like invisible enemy that we have, right? We're at war, we keep hearing this in the media, right? We're at war with this invisible enemy. So then it's like, and we hear them referred to as frontline workers, just like your wife, so it's like, I think it's really interesting to add, and anything to do with sort of documentary style, concepts or anything that we're doing right now. It just has this undertone of like in the age of COVID, right? So this is about this man and different modes of transportation in his life in the age of COVID, right? That's the sort of the underlying concept. And I mean, it's interesting. I feel well, why don't you talk about it some more? Because I'm sorry that I made it sound. Usually, I try to make it sound like it can be more than 3. It has to just be a minimum of 3. I'll have to go reword that later. My apologies.
I would have liked to have seen maybe 3 photos just from the bus.
Yeah.
That would have.
Well, I think she probably has that.
Yeah.
I think she probably has that, and that'll probably be likely what gets used in the final book. I think it was a good idea to sort of talk about these 3 modes of transportation, this like sub story to it. I think that's a great idea. I think, that's interesting, and that adds like this like context, like how do we move around, and how does this person move around? you know, this first image, that's like that's not, I thought it was a gas station, but it's a drive-through.
Oh,
Yeah, I thought it was a gas station too.
Yeah, so, you know, but also there's like two different cars. So I'm like, you know, when you say that, I'm wondering now if this person owns two different cars, or if one is shot from, you know, that middle one shot from the first car. I'm not sure. I'm not sure. I think, I mean, yeah, I'm not sure yet. The verticality of the last image is really nice too, right? It's sort of like everything's vertical. So compositionally that works. Like the canvas itself is vertical, like everything is sort of like upright. So, which also, like, for me, you know, for me, a horizontal always sort of implies like motion or something moving, or you know, filmic, something filmic, which is multiple frames, right? So these like feel very still, but they're of images that move, or of things that move, which I think is interesting, to like make them so static. I think this is a good sub story. I think it's a good way, good way to sort of
A good teaser.
make it yeah, good teaser, but also make it about this man, but also make it about some other like really just broader idea of something. It's great.
Do you guys want to want me to give you more context to what happened that day?
Sure. Or whatever you want.
Okay, so my friend, like I said, he works for the city of Santa Monica, and so where this whole idea came from was that idea of frontline worker, that this is what it means to be on the front lines in 2020. So when I got to talk to him about him and his wife, and I noticed that she and her family spends as much time as they can with him before he goes to work. And what they do is they go through a drive-through milk shop, she called it. They grab snacks and they sit in the car and eat. What I didn't know is that he does have a second car, and it's a little tiny Fiat, and he uses that to save money and gas. It's electric, to go to work. From Chino to Santa Monica.
Whoa.
Yeah.
But I guess that drive's probably not so bad at the moment.
No, yeah, correct. It's not. It's just really funny because that's their like family car, and then that's his ride to work. Mind you, he's like 6 feet tall.
Wow.
He said his coworkers make fun of him, like this big giant dude coming out of this tiny electric Fiat.
Which is also funny that he drives a massive bus and
Exactly.
a tiny electric car.
Exactly.
Funny.
So I didn't get a picture of it, but I noticed it when we were driving behind him. His license plate frame says, "My other car is a big blue bus." I think it's hilarious because he's driving a tiny orange car to work, but yet he drives a big blue bus. It's funny.
That is funny. That's a funny juxtaposition.
Yeah. So, so I think what I was thinking more about was the final project, not necessarily this project. But when I was looking at my images and bringing it down to 3, I said, you know, what are the bare elements? And it's what he drives throughout the day. You know, he's driving with his family in the morning to spend as much time with him before he goes to work, him driving to work, and then what he drives at work. So that's what I was looking at. But you're absolutely right. He was telling us about all the injustices about bus drivers, you know, and that's what he said. He's like, you know, you always hear about firefighters, about nurses, doctors. He's all, but there's no mention of bus drivers, and we've gone through so much. And in his bus, there's no plastic partition between him and anybody else. Whoever comes into the bus goes in through the back door. He said, but the only partition between the front of the bus and the back of the bus is a tiny yellow chain link, and that's it. Like, that's it. And he's like, if people come in with COVID-19 and they're coughing, he's like, the air circulates, so we all breathe the same air. He says, but all they gave him was these flimsy PPEs. So, but at the same, we had to fight for those. And then on top of that, when I drive, I have glasses, and he's also, these flimsy ones that they give us, my eyes fog up all the time. I can't see.
Yeah.
We can't bring our own because it's against code or whatever. He's also, it's a staged image, but when he's really driving, he doesn't have his mask on. And he said that the majority of people in Santa Monica, or his wife told me, try not to get on the bus because the majority of people getting on the Santa Monica buses right now are homeless people. And they're dirty and not, not sanitary at all. And they said that multiple bus drivers have tested positive for COVID-19, most likely because of that. So that's where this idea and concept came from for my final. And so again, when I was looking at my images and I thought about him, and I thought it was really interesting that he drives 3 different cars or transportation every day.
Wow. I mean, I think this is great. I think it's exactly the kind of thing that I'm talking about. Like, it's a narrative, but it's conceptual also. So good job. And I'm looking forward to seeing the rest.
Thank you.
Yeah, great. Thank you. Tell your friend good luck.
I will. Thank you. And I'm glad that you said that about text and stuff, adding that as part of context and part of the narrative, because that's where this all came from. It was a post from his wife. She had written how awesome he is as a father, as, their son has autism. He takes care of her, whatever she needs. He's working out there with these kind of conditions. And so I think that's what I want to add. I want to add what she had written about him. I want to add that into whatever page I add. I think that would add a lot to it. And I think whatever extra pictures I have, I want to make them a book. So
beautiful.
That's what I'm going to do.
That's so sweet.
All right. We have 2 more. Can you see my screen? No, you can't see my screen. Of course. Why would you be able to see my screen? Okay, so Howard, I opened yours up in Photoshop as well. Can you all see it? Okay. Here we go. All right, so Howard got a gun pulled on him, right? Is that what you were saying when you were shooting these photos? Or just threatened? Somebody threatened to shoot you. Yeah. So we went through a lot. So let's make sure we give him some feedback.
I love the one with the cows.
Okay. Why?
The 3 cows in the front just stand out, and then they kind of make you look at the other cows in the back. It's like a line focal view thing. And my family, they have cows in Mexico, so whenever I see a farm, it makes me happy, for sure.
Okay. These cows are going to be food someday, right?
I think they're milk cows.
Oh, those are milk cows. Yeah, that's different. Oh yeah, they're in the dairies. Yeah. Okay. Other thoughts?
Is the top left one, is that sprinklers, Howard?
Yeah.
Yes, it's sprinkle.
Okay.
So I'll say this. I actually think that the cow photo is the least, for myself, it's the least spectacular. Now, the reason I say this, I mean, I feel like that sprinkler image, just like the atmosphere and the way those trees look in the background and those leading lines from the tractor marks, that's just a really, that's just a really pretty photo to me. And then the composition and the sort of all these like lines and everything in the bottom image and those trucks, like there's something about these that are just like really telling me the story of this place. Now, the cows, like I just feel it's a great photo, but I just think for myself, the other two are just really so striking and strong, and you know, and I love these kinds of photos that really just tell me about this place. You know, the sense of place like really works for me. Yeah, the composition of the image on the bottom, Howard, great job, man. Love that so much.
I wish we were in class, Howard. You seem, the pictures that you surprise me every week, and
Yeah.
I've enjoyed it, and it would have been fun to get to know you better. What made you think of going to Chino for the cows?
Yeah.
That's where he lives, right?
Yeah. I think because for assignment, so I had to go out for shooting.
Yes. Okay.
So I think what topic should I take? So in the neighborhood, I think maybe in Chino, it's a special scenery here.
Yeah. Yeah.
So this is why I went there.
Yes.
And so this is for topic of the cow, but I think not only the cow, I think their food, the hay, the sprinkler is an illustration for grass for a cow, and the bottom photo, I think I take I think it's a barn house, and the trunk deliver the hay, the grass for a cow.
Yes.
And one important thing Hiroshi-san said, I find the line for the composition, I like it, so I took the pictures. The upper right photo, I find the curve line, and the bottom, yeah, the straight line, and the right photo, I like the straight line. Yeah. So this is why I took these pictures.
Yeah, I think your attention to like the geometry and the lines is really shows, and it's really great. Also, something that you did, I don't know if you know that you did this, but maybe, but it's a really big pet peeve of mine when people, mostly in printing, but also in images, like on digital images. When see that image on the upper left corner with the sprinkler, when people prints out like this, or you know, images that have a lot of white on the edges like that, they usually let it blow out and be pure white.
Yes.
Right? Here,
I see. Because that day it's a bright sunny day.
Yeah. So hold on really quick. I'm just going to show you. Let's do this. See, do you all see this line? Do you all see the line where the pure white is and where Howard's image is? Because it's a sunny day, and it's that sky will very quickly and very easily blow out, and you won't have any tonality in the sky. Well, what happens is when you print that out and you don't have any tonality in the sky, the printer doesn't lay down ink. And when the printer doesn't lay down ink, you see the difference between areas where the printer lays down ink and where it doesn't lay down ink, right? So for me, that's always been a really big pet peeve. Like, even if it's blown out and there's no detail in your histogram, in your highlights, just put a couple points in there, and all of a sudden you have a differentiation between pure white and white with a little bit of tonality in it. So I don't know if you did that on purpose, Howard, or not, but I would say that's a really good move on your part to do that. Okay.
So just to clarify, you say you do want that tonality, correct?
I do, absolutely. Because it's with a couple points of tonality, when you look at that image, it still looks white. Looks white. It's not going to change the feeling of the photograph at all. But what it's going to do is ensure that the printer is going to lay down a teeny tiny little bit of something there that is going to keep your image looking nice after it's printed out. A lot of people just let that white go pure white, and when you do that, it you know, for me it bothers me. I should be able to see. I should be able, if you have a white border, I should see where the white border is and where it's not. So good job on that, Howard. Very good. All right, thank you. All right, last one. Here we go. Can you all see my screen? Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Man, look at that dog's face. All right, thoughts? Well, I'm gonna just start then, since you all are speechless right now. That first image, Joel, that is probably one of the best kid with a dog photo I've seen, period.
Thank you.
I feel like, and I've seen a lot, man. I've seen, you know, like I get a lot of moms and dads in my, especially in my photo 10 classes that want to take cute pictures of their kids, but what an image.
Thank you.
Also, just this tiny little bit of space right here, good job. Yeah. If that had gotten a little bit too close to that dog's face, then, you know, came in, then it would just have just totally not ruined it, but it would have just changed it.
Right.
It's just been very frustrating. Is this your dog?
This is
and
my
your
dog,
kid?
Yeah. My nephew and my dog.
Wow. It's a great image.
It looks so relaxing. Like they're just having a nice moment together, hanging out. I think it's the dog's eyes that are not fully open like the last one. They're like slightly just relaxed, and then his just relaxing on top of him. Yeah, I like it. Makes me feel
great.
Good.
Beautiful.
I feel I'll say that silhouetted image I think might be a little too dark.
Yeah, it bugs me.
Yeah, that bottom part.
On my screen, it wasn't.
You had some detail in there?
Yeah.
Okay.
Down about 75% on the way from the top down. My hand is there, and you can see my hand, and you can see my shirt in what I did. So I agree with you. I also realized that the left shutter is somewhat closed a little bit. I think if they were even, I would have liked that better.
Oh, symmetry is everything for you.
To some degree.
Yeah, I mean, I would say just a couple things, like, and this goes for all of you. You know, I did this demo for the UCI students a couple days ago about, you know, and maybe I can do it with you all if you like, but sort of just like creating your own sort of do it at home light modifiers, you know. Just go, you know, I went to Target and bought one of those like cheap mirrors that you hang on the back of your door, like whatever, like a full body mirror but the cheap ones. And you know, that thing, if you put it like where the camera is and bounce some light right back in there, it, you know, it's pretty quick, pretty easy way of lighting, and that would have given you just probably enough fill to pull up some of those midtones, darker midtones, to ensure that you have some detail in there.
Yeah, I have a lot of detail there. It's actually a lighter picture. I darkened it
I
just to
see.
get a little silhouette, but it's too dark.
Yeah, it's a little too dark.
Yeah.
Because what's happening is like because you and the dog are getting so lost, it becomes about what we can see out the window.
Right.
And I don't think that's necessarily the point. I think the relationship between you and the dog is the point.
Yeah.
I also think that the tones are so different from the other two. Like my eyes skip the middle picture and I just go to the left and the right.
That's good. Yeah, that's good to know.
Yeah, I put that one in the center for that reason. Well, not that it should be skipped, but that it was darker.
Yeah. Yeah, I see. I mean, I see the sort of the reasoning behind the pagination. I think that dog, the photo of your dog by himself, or is it he or she?
She.
Photo by herself. That's a really funny photo. It's really cute. And I think, you know, it's, again, I've seen a lot of dog photos, and that's a good one. That's how I would chalk it up as a really good one. Yeah, the texture on that nose is so like I want to rub it, rub my hand across the wet nose or something. So it's great. Good job.
Thank you.
Yeah, but that first image, that's just everything. That's such a great photo. Good job on that.
Thank you.
All right. Okay, let me stop sharing for a second. All right, so it's 11:42. I will talk about the color assignment, and then I will just do my quick demo. Can you guys give me, can we be back here at 11:50? Maybe a quick restroom break?
Yes.
Break for your eyeballs? Okay, 11:50, okay? 7 minutes. All right, we back? Back. 1 second here. All right, Howard, Erica, Ivy, Robin, and Joel, are you there?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay, you're
Yeah.
there, Ivy,
Hi.
Robin, Joel, Erica, Howard.
Hey.
Yep. All right, cool. We're all here. All right, so I published to Canvas the color assignment. Let me just go over it real quick, and if you have any questions, you can let me know. So the objective of this assignment is to create an image in which color has significance to the concept of the photo. The concept is inner/outer space. So inner space could be, and it's obviously a conceptual assignment. So inner space could be the space within one's own mind, right? What you got inside. It could also be more literal, like the space within a cabinet or a refrigerator or inside a bedroom or anything like that, or interior space. So whatever that means to you, however you want to sort of conceptualize inner space, okay? Or you could do, it could be outer space, which could literally mean a picture, you know, could literally mean outer space, like Mars or a different galaxy, a different universe, anything like that. That could be outer space. Or outer space could be interpreted as outside of your house or just outside in general, right? Or it could be even your own skin might be an outer space, right? As opposed to inside your skin. Okay, so you get what I'm saying, right? Just any sort of interpretation, but I want color to sort of be at the basis of, or I want this to be the concept, but I want you to utilize color in a way that really is emphasizing these sort of thoughts. Okay, so like I said, it's a very open-ended assignment, and you can consider using this towards your final if your final has color images. Okay, so you know, some ideas could be, you know, the bus driver in Santa Monica, right? Could be inside the bus. That could be inner space, or you know, it could be the exterior of the bus. Maybe that's the outer space, right? But make sure that the big blue bus looks big and blue and the blues are right, or whatever. You get what I'm saying, right? Yeah, so any questions? You have 2 weeks. It's going to be due on the 29th. And it could be both. If you know, some of you might need to do 2 images in order to talk about how one's in inner space and one's not in inner space, or one's in outer space and one's not in outer space, or whatever. But I'm only requiring 1 photo, but you're more than welcome to turn in multiples. Okay. Any questions? If you have more questions later, you can obviously email me, or we can talk about it next week too. All right. And okay. All right, so last thing I want to show you all today, I shot this silly photo last weekend of the MFA director at USC and the person that she's quarantining with. So I shot this silly photo in her backyard. Now, they're both, okay, so both of these people are pretty well-known performance artists. And like I said, she runs the graduate, the MFA program at USC. So she's kind of a big deal over there. So in shooting these portraits, you know, I think it's pretty cool portrait. I think it's the backyard looks really cool. The dog has this little paw on Marcus's shoulder. I think that's really a cool moment. You know, her name is Now Bustamante, and I think her purple hair is pretty cool. Hold on really quick. Victor's here right at the end. All right, so we have, you know, I thought the portrait is pretty cool. Now, I don't know how many of you have heard this, but I'm assuming some of you, if not all of you, have heard this, that they like the picture, they just don't like themselves, the way they look. Yeah, everybody's heard some form of this, right? And it's usually having to do with like, you know, they don't like the way their face looks or their body looks or whatever, right? So the reason I'm bringing this up is I'm going to show you all how to use the Liquify tool if you don't already know how to use it. In this version of Photoshop, it's super good at this point. Back in the day, it wasn't so good. And it was really, you had to be really good at it to make it work right. But now there's so many things that you can do within the Liquify tool that we can sort of just make these like little adjustments that are going to go a long way with how these people feel. And also remember too, like this is probably done to every single advertising photo that you ever look at this point. Okay, some form of this. Okay. So have some of you, I see some nodding heads, so some of you have used the Liquify tool before. A couple of you. Okay, cool. Victor has, okay, cool. So this might be a review for some of you, but for some of you, this is gonna open a whole new world. Okay, so what you do is, first thing, what's the first thing I do?
Command J.
Command J. Boom, love it. Okay. So I made a copy of my background layer, okay? You're gonna go up here to filter and you're gonna go to Liquify, okay? A whole nother screen is gonna pop up. Can you all see that screen? Now, there's these tools on the left side and then there's some sliders and things on the right side. I'm gonna show you what the sliders do. And most likely this is probably just gonna be exactly what you all need for your images, okay? But you'll notice, I'm gonna drop down underneath brush tool options to face aware Liquify. You'll notice there's a drop down right here, face number 1 and face number 2. So it has already, let me make this big. It has already determined that there are 2 different faces in this photo. There's technically 3 because Logita's face, but if I click face 1 and I come over here, you'll see it used to just show us. Okay, well I guess it's not gonna. Okay, so face.
I think it's on the left panel. That go.
This.
That one, yeah.
Yeah, thank you. So if you click this icon, it'll tell you which face is face 1, and then if you switch it to face 2, it'll tell you which is face 2. Now, you can now just literally manipulate the shape of the head when you have this tool selected, I believe. What is that tool even called? Do you know? Let's find out. Face tool, A. Okay, so you could literally take the face and you can change the shape of the head. Can you all see that? I'm assuming you can. It's sort of subtle, but you can obviously go pretty wild with it. And as you hover over different areas of the face, different points become activated, and you can manipulate the sort of, you know, I can manipulate the mouth, I can make it smaller, I can make it bigger, blah, blah, blah. You could do all this stuff to the face. Now, that's obviously not what I want to do, but I just wanted to be a little, go overboard so you can see what is possible. If I hold down Option, you'll notice that the cancel button turns into reset. Click reset. Reset, come on. Make no changes. All right, It's not resetting, but try it again. Liquify. It is giving me problems right now. There we go. All right, so that is one way to sort of manipulate the face. Obviously I don't really like that way, but we can definitely hit face tool if we want to. But I like to go down, you know, if there's something in particular that I want to do to a face, I can come down here and I can start to manipulate just like things like the eye size. And you have the left eye and you have the right eye. You can link them together or not. So linking them together, and we can increase the size of the eyes, right? You see his eyes getting bigger and smaller. So maybe if a person is squinting a little too much, we can open his eyes up a little bit. Am I freaking you out, Erica?
I'm gonna have too much fun with that.
Oh yeah, you should definitely go to town with it. And I mean, it's sort of good to like be ridiculous with it, because then you really learn what each thing does. You don't have to save it, but you know, you can definitely go to town with it. Eye height. Yeah, get pictures of your friends and mess up their faces. I used to do this because I felt like, or I still feel like, this is like one of those sort of like controversial things, like, should we really be like manipulating people's head shapes or whatever? So I'd always use a picture of my own face and let students mess up my own face, and that way I don't have to worry about what they're going to do to other people. But you know, since you're just watching me now, I'll use my friends. Okay, also we can manipulate the eye height, right? You see what's happening to Marcus's eye, right? It's opening up. The width, right? The eye tilt, we can tilt his eyes in either direction. Again, we can link all this together so that both eyes work in tandem with one another. Okay. And eye distance, you can spread the eyes out, or you can bring them together.
I love that one.
It's crazy.
Yeah, it knows. It's really great. We used to have to do this with just like, we didn't have all this.
Wow.
And now there's, and you can just move down. Now we can do his nose. We can make his nose lower or higher. We can widen it out or pinch it down a little bit if it's a little wide. We can just really make Marcus look really different. Mouth, the smile, you can make him smile. You can make him frown.
Wow.
Okay. Upper lip, you have a lot of control there. Now remember, all this stuff that you're doing is distorting the pixels in the face. So it is gonna look different. You know, it's not gonna look as sharp and clean as it did before, but if you need to, you know, make some adjustments, you can do so, right? We gave them some Botox. And then we get down here to the face shape, forehead. We can, you know, make his forehead bigger or smaller, chin height, bring it up and down, jawline, you know, he's gonna love that. Face width, he's gonna love it like this more than widening it out, right? But you have all this sort of, power, all this to sort of deal with. So, and you can keep going down. I don't know too much about mask options or load mesh options, but you can definitely go through those and find out more. I don't really use this tool that often. And obviously you can go through YouTube or lynda.com if you want to learn more about how to expertly use this tool. But this is just sort of the basic. But I do want to show you how I've used this tool in the past. What is happening? You can see how different he looked. He was like squinting before, and now he's got these weird giant lips and his eyes are wide open. Let me cancel it and do it one more time because this reset's not working. Okay. The other thing that you can do that I find more sort of, I'll probably use this on this for him because I know how he's going to feel about this photo, is, you know, maybe like right here on his neck, maybe give him how it's sort of like, hold on. I wonder. Yes. Okay. I had a newer version opened. Okay. So, do you see this little bulge in his neck? He does not like that, right? His neck is kind of coming over his shirt, right? Obviously, I can go back through all those, like that head shape, and like squeeze his head down a little bit and make him look a little thinner or whatever, because that's what he's going to want ultimately. But there's this tool up here, this it's called the forward warp tool. What you can do is when you select it, you have a brush, and now you can manipulate the brush size over here. I can make it way smaller and way bigger. Come on. But I like to use my I like to use the brackets on my keyboard instead of the brush size. And what you're going to want to do, this is one of the instances where you kind of keep your brush a little bit larger. And what I'm basically going to do is, with this tool selected, I'm actually just going to start to push in that bulge. Okay, and you'll see what happens. So I just click and push, click and push. So I'm just pushing it in. Okay, and I'm going to push it in a little further. And I can come over to here to the shirt, and I can pull the shirt out just a little bit. So it really sort of emphasizes that his neck is not going over his shirt, right? And I'm zoomed in kind of far so I can like really sort of see what's going on. And I'll come over here to this side and I'll do the same thing. I'll just start to push in the neck a little bit, right? And then I'll pull the shirt out just a little bit to exaggerate a little bit. But I'm pushing his neck in. Okay, now, the reason I did that is I'm gonna hit okay, and because I've done this on a separate layer, you can see that just by pushing those little bulges on the neck, it instantly sort of made his neck and head seem a bit thinner. And he's gonna be much happier with that than he is, you know, especially if I go back through and sort of pinch down his head and all that. I can really manipulate and make him look the way he wants to look. Okay, so I wanted to show you all that. Obviously there's a lot of control with that, and you can go much further than what I'm showing you right now, but that's sort of the extent of my knowledge on Liquify. But I know that I've also used that tool in the past, not on people's faces, but to like straighten out a line, like on a windowsill or something. You know, some people like really symmetrical lines. Well, if one line is giving you problems, sometimes you can like just nudge it up or nudge it away or whatever you got to do to straighten it out. Okay, so keep that in mind. There's other instances when you could use Liquify, but
yeah, I've used it where like in a family portrait, the dad has his wallet in his back pocket.
Yeah, and
I'll like cinch it in so it's not like so bulging out. So yeah, I'll do that sometimes too.
Yeah, I shot my own family's portrait one year, and my mom and my sister they went to town. They, you know, but it's good in that they were very happy with it at this point. You know what I mean? And so, you know, I think there's sort of ethical uses of it, but if you like go and like manipulate disfigure somebody's body to a point that it looks unnatural or something, yeah, I don't know. That's going, you know, I don't know. Who am I to say?
My question with that is like, before you talk to a client or something, do you debrief them on that? Like, is there something that you want me to edit? Is there something you don't want me to edit? or are you just not saying anything?
You can.
Do it on your own?
I mean, you can. I mean, I think it varies from client to client. I wouldn't say like I wouldn't say there's one sort of like approach, blanket approach to everything, but maybe that is like something that you just like, okay, with every client I have this discussion, like in Photoshop, I can, you know, I can make things appear smaller or bigger or, you know, like whatever, like, is that, you know, but also like make sure you charge for things like that, obviously retouching and things like that. But yeah, that is something if you it's a possibility. And, you know, I don't really shoot images like this. I don't even shoot these kinds of portraits that often, but I was asked to do this last weekend, so I did it. Okay, one other thing that I wanted to show you is on my strobe, I had a CTO, which is an orange gel over my strobe to really warm up the light. This is basically what I wanted my image to look like. You know, obviously I go in and make some more adjustments. This is basically a raw file. But what I did want to show you all is one last method of sort of doing some color manipulation. So go up here to levels. Can you all see the levels? Now you'll see, you know, I have some really bright highlights, which is probably the sky area here. And maybe some parts of his shirt and maybe his skin right here where it's blown out. So that's basically where all these highlights are falling. And then we have our shadows. We don't have too many deep blacks, but we do have a spike up here, right? But I'm gonna go down into the color channels because like I said, I shot this with an orange gel over my strobe, okay? So if I come over here, we'll see that we're sort of the shadows here in the reds, you know, don't have a lot of cyan in them. So what you could do is, you know, and try this out on your own images and see where things lie. But a lot of times I like to take go into levels and take my highlights and make sure my highlights are right where the spike happens. And in this case, it's here, right? I guess I could probably move it over if no. We're basically clipping over here, right? But in my shadows, I don't have any pure blacks in my red channel, right? So, or pure red at that point. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take this point and I'm gonna sort of put it right where the peak begins. Okay, and you see some of that orange got corrected out of it. Now I'm gonna drop down to the next channel and I'm gonna do the same thing. The highlights are already clipping over here, but I'm gonna take my greens and I'm gonna move them over here to right where that peak starts, right? And then I'm gonna do the same with my blue channel. Make sure that, yeah, it's already sort of centered. So basically what I'm doing is I'm centering the points. Now, because this image has so many tonalities represented, they're already sort of on the edges. But in some other images, they might, the 3 points might be shifted over in different directions. What I'm basically trying to do is take my highlights and put my highlight point right where the highlights start, and my shadows, I'll put right where the shadows start, and then I'll center the midtones. What that means is that's giving me a relatively color balanced photo at this point, right? And from there, I can start to make some more sort of subjective adjustments. Maybe some of you don't want it to be purely color corrected. You know, maybe some of you want to be more subjective with your color, like I was earlier, right? But now I know that this is pretty close to accurate, right? So then if you see it before, had a lot of that orange from that CTO, and then I've sort of balanced it out, right? And you can kind of go from there. Maybe I want to go somewhere in between that. Well, I can even just go to my opacity here and put in, you know, 50%. Now I've sort of corrected out about 50% of that orange. Okay. And then obviously you can go back through if you want to try blending modes. Maybe it's all too contrasty or whatever, but you got it. You got the idea. Okay. So that's another way of sort of color correcting is centering your highlights and your highlights or situating your highlights and your shadows right where the peaks, the spikes begin, and then centering the midtone, and then going from there and sort of correcting out from there. You know, it might be that once you do that, your colors might still be a little bit off. But I also like to, when I'm doing this, you know, I like to look at the image and go through each channel, right? And ask myself, like, okay, do the midtones and the reds, do they seem like they're too cyan or too red, right? Drop down to the greens. Maybe I can ask myself, is the greens need more magenta in the midtones, or do they need more green? So, and then you can just take it and you can sort of move around. Now, a good thing to think about too, and especially with their skin tone, it's it's probably the midtone is around where their skin tones are. We can look at their skin and literally decide, like, oh, is there too much green or is there too much magenta? Maybe their skin's a little warm, right? Drop down in here and cool down the skin a little bit, right? And we can really just sort of ask ourselves as we're working on these, maybe there's a little bit too much red in the skin, right? Something like that. So it's good to just have this sort of dialogue with yourself while you're working and trying to figure out how to sort of color balance it. Who prefers it sort of this more neutral tone? That means everybody likes the warmer tone? No. Howard is a emphatic no. So you like it more color balanced, Howard? Okay. Erica, more color balanced?
I think my screen just looks a little bit blue because it's super cool, that one.
Okay, so I mean, we can always, just warm it up with opacity or something. I've got a chat here. Color balance, Victor likes a color balanced. Okay. Well, yeah, so again, it comes back down to subjective color, right? What the artist prefers at that point. But yeah, that's another way of sort of color balancing. Okay. Yeah, this might be a little bit cool at this point, but also you have to consider that they're an open shade, right? So the color might be cool. The light's coming through green, the greenery, right? So yeah, it might be a little green, it might be a little blue, cyan. In which case we can always come back here, add a little bit of red back in, something like that. Okay. All right, any questions? Okay, cool. Well, if not, happy shooting. Erica and Robin, stick around. Oh, Victor, stick around too. All right, the rest of you, have a great week. Keep shooting.
Thank
Bye,
you.
everyone.
Take care.
Bye, everybody.
Bye-bye.
Bye, Amanda. Bye, Tia.
Bye.
Bye, Howard. Bye, Ivy. All right. I'm gonna stop sharing and I'm gonna give me 1 second here. I'm gonna stop recording.